teacher, coming to you live on all of our various platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, of course, on Twitter. So I'm looking forward to doing another live Q&A today on Canadian immigration. There has been a lot of uncertainty that's just continued. Now we've been able to get a few things responded to, and there's been some positive developments for people inside Canada. Outside Canada, travel restrictions, that whole area, I'll be honest, is still a complete gong show. So while we're waiting for people to join in here, I'll try not to give away too many secrets. We'll wait for people to connect in, and then we'll get into the meat of everything. If you are tuning in and you're listening to this, as always, I absolutely love to have people post where they're tuning in from. So those of you who are first timers, you'll see here one of my good friends here, Ralph. It looks like YouTube is functioning. Part of the reason I do this is to make sure that it's working, because the program that I use to do these live Q&As doesn't reveal directly whether or not it's actually working. So I'm just waiting for Facebook to connect and people to post on Facebook. We've had a really good response immediately from people on YouTube. It's all YouTube dominating here. So Ralph, he's indicating it's my home office today. Yes, it is. And then we've got Katamba from Uganda. And there we go. We've got Diana's back from Sarnia. Awesome. Abhishek Scarborough. Anshu's is India. We've got our Facebook, and Karen is Delhi. So that's awesome. So that just helps me to know that this is working, and it's helping me to see how far what I'm doing here is spreading. And Ralph brought up a good point here. I'll show you this here. Ralph just posted, he said, today your home office? Yes. Now, last Tuesday, those of you who were tuning in probably remember that I talked a little bit about why I'm wearing my suit now and broadcasting from my home office. And hey, Bella and Ralph, I don't know if you see in the background right over here, I think you guys can probably see this right here up on my shelf. That is the amazing Christmas card that they gave me this year, and it's still up on the shelf. And I've got a bunch of other interesting things back there. If I point it up here a little bit, you can see I've got different things that were all in my office at my other business, souvenirs and things from all over the world. And of course, I've got my Calgary Flames Santa Claus up there beside my samurai swords, and then my Kenyan statues. And I've got Guatemalan Mayan statues and lots of different things there. But anyways, this most definitely is my home office. And I had one of my clients a couple days ago, just indicate that they had referred someone to me. And then they didn't think I was an actual lawyer. They thought I was just a consultant or someone else because of the playful nature of my videos. And I do want them to be fun. I do. But I also want people to take me seriously. And so I've made a few changes just to make sure that I'm giving a little bit more of a professional presentation, but I'm still planning on having a lot of fun. So I can still wear a coat, a suit, and broadcast from here instead of the pyramids in Giza, and just give an impression, because I don't want anyone to get turned off if it isn't professional enough. I have had some people say, Mark, why are you posting personal things on these? It's not very professional. Well, that might be the case, but there's a difference between sharing a video of me climbing through the snow fort or the Quincy that my family did last week, just outside of our home, which I think some of you had probably seen previously if you were just happened to be on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. And then others, if you want to go check it out, you can go to the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page and just watch and see this massive Quincy or snow fort that my kids built when they had some time on their hands. So I like doing that so that you guys know I'm a real human being. I'm just like you guys. I'm not some fake person who really doesn't know what they're doing, but just has a big fancy videography team behind them to produce cool videos. The reality is this is just me. It's real. But I recognized when the person commented that some people he had referred didn't choose to contact me because they didn't think that I was actually an immigration lawyer. Well, wow. Yeah, I am. 5 years of undergrad, plus 3 years of law school, where less than 10% of those who applied were able to get in. Super competitive. LSAT, another year after working for a large national firm as an articling student before they hired me on as an associate. Wow, that time spent in, I do not want to devalue that, because compared to consultants and what they need to do to qualify, it's a whole different world. Now, like I say, I've said repeatedly, there's some really, really good consultants out there. So I don't want to blanket cast aspersions on every consultant, because there's some great ones out there. But generally speaking, what it takes to become a consultant doesn't even fit into the same world as what it takes to become a lawyer. And so therefore, I'm not a consultant. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer, an ex-immigration officer, having worked on the border as an officer and worked as a pro bono student to the hearings officers downtown in Calgary. And so that has been my background. That's been my experience. So continue posting where you're tuning in from. Let's see where else. We've got Abhishek, who is in Scarborough. Welcome, Abhishek. And then we have, let's see here. We've got Amit, who's tuning in from India. Great to have you, Amit. Who else do we have here? Himanshu is also in India. Let's see. Abhishek says, I will be booking a consult with you soon to review my docs and confirm knock. Absolutely, Abhishek. In fact, most of the consults that I have, a significant portion of those are working through the actual knock code to find the right knock. So great. Samit is India. Great to have you there. Let's see who else we have. Tamor, flipping back to Facebook. YouTube is actually catching up to Facebook, you guys. More and more people are watching it on YouTube. So Toronto, Tamor. We've got Himanshu from Punjab. We've got Mehdi from Lyon, France. Welcome, welcome. All right. Timur says, I'm back too. Yes, because I did a little pre-intro one at noon and invited people back and to share with everybody that we are actually going live. So let's see, who else do we have here? We've got Crudy, and let's see who else we have. There's a bunch of other people that are tuning in here. Baji is from Dubai, or Harbhajan is from Dubai. Hosea is Namibia. Cool. We haven't had someone from Namibia for a while. And wow, they're just a great. And of course, Ralph, you're always up there in Edmonton. Awesome, awesome. And yeah, we've got a ton of people. Saima is Saudi Arabia. Mantek is in the US, New York. Welcome. So it's good to have all of you guys connecting. Iffy, once again, Toronto, welcome to have you back. Toluwalope, Nigeria. Boy, I have fun pronouncing these names, don't I? Sahil is tuning in from India. And everybody's just posting tons of contact. Ronak is in Montreal. And then, yes, Jose, we got you from Namibia. Nilesh is in Sudbury, Ontario. Great. Cindy is also in Montreal. Gujarat is from India. Marrakesh is also from Morocco. Cool. Syria, Nigeria. You can see it just goes on and on. Saidi is Pakistan. I can't even keep up with you guys. Bashti is the UK. Vishal is from the US in Denver. Then we've got Akena, Germany. Interesting, Akena. I'm actually, this morning, I spent a lot of time trying to work with a company, a directional drilling company in Calgary, trying to get their specialized techs from Germany to come into Canada as after-sale service. And oh my goodness, it is a nightmare. It is so difficult. The rules don't allow for it. So I'm going to have to try to reach out to the program manager in Austria to see if there's a way that we can get them to come in, because the drilling that they're doing is for specialized water treatment facility. And so it's for drinking water for one of the communities that we have here in Canada. So really important, but the travel restrictions don't allow them to do that because they don't have work permits. So, wow, you guys, I think you guys probably appreciate by now that I'm not just an express entry lawyer. I do a lot of that, but I work for large multinational companies. I work for individuals who are sponsoring their family. I cover the whole gambit of applications. Okay, so Akena, welcome. Glad to have you joining me in Germany. Let's see, Aaron's down in Chicago. We have Suksame, who is in Bangkok, and it's Jackson. Awesome, from Bangkok. Beant from Kingston. Awesome. You can see people are from everywhere here. Angelica, hey, we got another person from Edmonton. Welcome. We've got Salmani, Casablanca. Awesome. Mohammed's Colombo. Anundeep is India. And it just goes on and on. Ryan's also from India. Mankarad is also in Kingston right here. And yeah, really cool. Wow. And then we've got Mitzi, one of my past clients. Great to have you joining again, Mitzi. And I think I've officially kind of caught up for the most part. Umar and Karan says, smart man. Well, I don't know about that, but I do my best. All right. Aziri's Nigeria. And Sashin is also here from India. We've got the Philippines representation, Arlen. And we even have Kat, who's over in Pincher Creek. Cool, not far from me at all. And we've got the UAE representation, Malaya. So very, very cool. All right, guys, and we'll finish off with Anbu from Miami. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Okay, couple quick things that I want to address as before we jump into answering people's questions. The first thing is that we've decided to do something kind of creative. And what we've tried to do is let me just show you this, okay? This is probably the best way to do it. So some of you are actually tuning in and you are watching through the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. So if I flip my screen around here, you'll see that we have an Express Entry Law private Facebook group. Guys, this is where everything started. It was here. And this group has hovered around 125,000. I think Facebook won't allow it to go over 125, but it's about 124,000 right now. I just cleared this off already, and there's another 3 people that want to join. If you answer the questions, I approve you. Approve, approve, and approve. If you answer the questions, you get approved. If you don't, I say no, you can't join it. Well, it all started here. This private Facebook group is where everything that I'm doing started. Jumping on, answering people's questions, it went through this whole process here. So this Express Entry Law has been kind of the pillar that got everything started. Then we shifted over to the Canadian Immigration Institute. Now I've got this little logo up for the time being just for fun. It's definitely a lot more playful than professional, but we're experimenting it. So let me know if you like the logo, or I should say this new banner image that I just posted. We're just playing around with a bunch of different things just to make it interesting. But this is where a lot of you on Facebook are watching. And if you are watching on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, come over to the Canadian Immigration Institute, because that's why your questions are not being posted to me and why I can't see them. So with this and all of these people, especially within the Express Entry Law, there's a ton of people that have gone through this and really they've gone through Express Entry. They've taken advantage of this. They've taken advantage of my courses and a bunch of things. And I kind of classify them as, let me shift back to myself, my graduates, or in other words, my Canadian Immigration Institute alumni. But for years, I've just helped people come to Canada, and then that's been it. They have basically been left to their own devices to figure out how to actually settle. And I've realized that there's a huge gap and an obligation that I feel I have to really reach out and help people with that second step. Most times with immigration lawyers, once you've done the work to get someone approved, they're landed as permanent residents, then you say, that's all. Wish you all the best, and you rarely even speak with them anymore. But the reality is I knew that there was a gap that I could help people with and that I could fill. And so what I've decided to do here, and I'm going to flip over right now, and I know Igor is probably going to be sharing this as well. Let's see if I can find the actual page. If you go to the Canadian Immigration Institute page itself right here, and I'll share my screen, right here at the top, you will see that there is something called the Canadian Settlement Course. And this is something new that I'm creating and offering to people. And as a part of this course, I'm doing a free live webinar that will occur on May the 8th at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So 8 a.m., why 8 a.m.? Because I'm trying to catch people all over the world, no matter what stage they're at. And in some cases, people haven't started work at 8 a.m. yet. Many times, people in Canada right now are not even able to work. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get up, make sure that I'm all set up a little bit early so that we can do this. So this is where you go to register for it, okay? So you come here to the site, and Igor will post a link. This link is also in the description for this video on Facebook and YouTube. You guys out in Periscope land, I don't have an ability to put a description by the video for Twitter and for Periscope. But this is where you go, and then you just click on register for the webinar, and then you can sign up. Okay. And then on the day of the webinar, or right around there, maybe we haven't figured it out exactly, we're going to send out a link so that you can connect in directly. As a part of the registration process, when you're registering for this live webinar, we're also going to provide you access to the Facebook page. And I'm trying to think if I can actually see it. I'm not sure. I might have to access it. I know Igor already made it accessible for me, but sometimes it's hard for me to keep on top of everything that's going on. Let's see if I can find it here. We just created it, and so it's probably not even visible for me. Probably that's the case. So trying to go around and find it through my own personal page, good luck. So anyways, I don't know how to find it. Igor does. He'll post a link there. And yeah, because I don't think, oh, Canadian immigration, no, that's the live Q&A. Okay, as you guys can see, this is not some fancy, well-produced live Q&A. This is an immigration lawyer, yes, an immigration lawyer who's doing his best to kind of jump around and navigate through a whole bunch of things. So there we go. Oh, Igor is so much smarter than I am. Okay. So here's the link to our Canadian settlement course. And this is all about moving to Canada and how to make it an easier experience for you. And we intend to include a ton of information on all of the most common questions that people have when they're trying to settle in Canada, because there's so much misinformation out there. For example, one of the things that I saw, someone posted a comment on the YouTube channel, which I promptly deleted, was that there's no opportunities in Canada, there's no jobs in Canada, don't bother trying. Well, that's stupid advice. So stupid. It is so narrow-minded. The reality is we are going to lift from this situation we're in with COVID-19. The restaurants are going to open. The stores are going to open. Business is going to reopen. And there's going to be opportunities as industries grow and take advantage of, as the dust settles with COVID-19, as we're moving forward, there's still going to be opportunities. And the door to Canada, unlike many countries, is not closed. In some cases, it is paused. And those of you, I know you'll ask questions about express entry and will the federal skilled worker program, will they issue draws in the future? All of those are valid questions. There's a pause definitely in that they're only issuing the Canadian experience class draws. But understand that this is a temporary pause. And for those of you who just give up and say, I'm not going to do it, well, the ones who keep continuing forward and trying to position themselves to be ready when it does open up, well, guess who's going to get in and guess who isn't? The people who are proactive. So the government is continuing to process applications, albeit some things are paused. So keep that in mind, all right? And so when people are moving forward and exploring the possibilities of coming to Canada and what it really takes to settle successfully, that is exactly what we're trying to create with this course. And so the best thing in the world you can do is to register. When you register, you will then get access to a link to join this private Facebook group. And right now it is going to be limited to alumni. It's going to be limited to people who have their confirmation of permanent residence, who have already landed in Canada, or people that are have their passport request. And so we're limiting it to people who are approved and just about ready to come to Canada. Because it doesn't do any good to learn about all the different things coming to Canada if you don't have a chance of coming anyways. So we're going to keep the group small. It's going to be limited to people who have received their passport request, who have obtained their confirmation of permanent residence, or who have already landed in Canada. That's the group that we're targeting right now. And to a large extent, that's many, many of the people that we have in the Express Entry Law Private Facebook group. So this is going to come out. So make sure that you jump over here and register. All you have to do is go to the Canadian Immigration Institute site. And then from there, we'll be able to get you all registered, and you can attend the live webinar, 8 a.m. Friday, May the 8th, 2020. And that is Mountain Daylight Time. All right. Okay, there we go. That's the first thing. Okay, the next thing I want to show you, which I'm slowly learning things all the time. The next thing is what you do so here's the Canadian Immigration Institute. Now, because I am the actual, and I better share this with you guys, because I am the owner of this, I can't show you what I want to do. But some of you are wondering, how do we receive notifications, Mark, if you're going live on YouTube? Well, the easiest way to do that is, and I'm not going to use my site, I'm going to actually flip over and I'm going to show you the Government of Canada site. So this is the official site. Don't be deceived. This is the YouTube channel for Citizenship and Immigration Canada, which now is Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. So you're going to go over here and you're going to click on subscribe. So I am going to subscribe to it. And the moment you click on subscribe, and I think you guys can probably all see it now, okay, so the moment you click on subscribe, a bell appears here. So then you click the bell. And then I'm going to put all, because I want to receive notifications when there's a new post. Now, I am not Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. So my little site here, I can tell you, is not going to have 100 posts every day. But when it comes to liking or subscribing to this and then clicking on the notification, you'll be notified when I go live. So, and trust me, guys, I will be considering, well, I'm going to be doing more spontaneous kind of posts. So keep that in mind, all right? And then finally, when it comes to the Facebook page, and if we go to the Canadian Immigration Institute here, you can also follow it. And then you can also select the level that you want to receive for notifications. And the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page also doesn't have a ton of posts on it, but when I go live, that's how you can know that I am live. At least theoretically, because as you know as well as I do, Facebook sucks. And they have a way of just limiting people's ability to see anything. So there we go. That's kind of the spiel that I wanted to share. A bunch of things going on. But I just wanted to share all of that with you to let you know that we are looking at pushing out a whole bunch more resources and things that are available to help all of you. All right. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shift gears now, and we're going to slide over to the some of the questions that were sent in via email. Now, those of you know, if you have an email question and you're watching this as a recording, you can always send an email to info@holthelaw.com and put live Q&A in the subject line, and then your question will be considered for one of the next upcoming Immigration Live Q&As. All right. Okay. Here we go. Let's shift gears. I'm going to try to get everything off of my screen that's here, and I'm going to blow this up so everybody can see it as soon as I decide to share it. Okay, so here's the questions that we're going to cover today. We'll make these a little bit larger so that people can see them. Okay, Abe says, hello, Mark. I really appreciate your help regarding the Canadian immigration, through YouTube and Facebook live sessions. Okay, I'm living in the U.S. with my wife. For proof of funds, I've shown all the funds in my wife's bank account in India. Okay, I got the no objection letter from my wife. Great, that's a good tip to use, that the funds are available. We were short funds, so her father gifted some money, and they got the gift deed done. That's great. Now the question is, will this cause any problems with the approval of my PR application? I have submitted my PR application. Okay, well, Abai, I can tell you that you haven't indicated here if your spouse is actually accompanying you. Whether she is or whether she isn't, the reality is you've covered off all of your bases. And so I don't see any issues here with immigration having a reason to question whether or not those funds are available. So I think you've done what you need to do. So good question. All right. Okay, this next one is from Jerry. He says, hi, Mark. Hope you and your family are doing well. I really appreciate your work and help. There are two statutory questions that are very similar and confuse me. I'm glad, Jerry, because they confuse me. Okay, so here's the question. It says, has Jerry been refused refugee status or an immigrant or permanent resident visa or an application to a provincial nominee program or a visitor or temporary resident visa to Canada or any other country? Okay, so these questions, where are they found? In the statutory information section once you're completing your electronic application for permanent residence to Canada, once you receive your invitation to apply. So these are the questions that come up that you have to answer yes or no to, and then explain if you answer yes. So that's the first question. If we go back here to the next one, it says, has, in this case, Jerry, ever been refused a visa or permit? Now, can you see the challenge that we have here? Okay. So a visa permit denied entry or order to leave Canada or any other country. These questions are super, super similar. And so you can see here, this says a visitor temporary resident visa. This says refused a visa or permit. So the question Jerry says is, in my case, I was once rejected on a co-op work permit while I was studying in Canada because I forgot that a co-op work permit already had been issued to me along with my study permit earlier. Should I answer only yes to B in this case? Because technically I was never refused any visa application, but only a work permit. Well, I can tell you, Jerry, this is one of the most common questions. Boy, there's a lot of common questions. Who am I kidding? This is a common question that I get. And because I personally don't know exactly the distinction between where you should answer yes to part A or where you should answer yes to part B, I say yes to both in your situation. If I've had any visa refused, I just answer yes to both and put the same answer in. So if I've ever had any refusal, if I was denied entry, if I had anything that went south or sideways on these with an application to Canada, or remember here, I want to show you guys this is important. I'm glad he copied the text. To Canada or any other country like the US, which has resulted in many people getting findings of misrepresentation because they forgot about some prior visitor visa refusal to the US 20 years ago. Yes, that can be a problem for you. In this case, I answer yes and put the same answer in both sections, and I cover my bases. And you know what? If I'm answering yes to something else, then, well, such is life. You just got to do what you got to do. But this way, I know there's no misrep, and I'm actually oversharing probably what I need to. Great question. Okay, next question here. This one is from Himanshu from India. Himanshu says, I want to know that is it mandatory if someone has more than one relative, like an aunt, uncle, grandmother, who is a citizen or PR in Canada other than a brother or sister, to mention in the profile, the EE profile, or can it be ignored as no points are going to be awarded? Ignoring means concealing facts, or it's okay. Okay, never ever do you want to answer a question. I'm trying to find the best way to describe this. Never do you want to be in a position where someone asks you a direct question and the direct answer requires you to say yes or no, and you should say yes, but you say no. So let me clarify that. So if it's asking, do you have any, please, it says list all your family members in Canada. And if you indicate, I have no family in Canada, but you actually have a cousin, I should say not a cousin, but an aunt or an uncle. Well, aunts or uncles are actually on the list of family members under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So if immigration knew that you had an aunt or uncle, who knows how they know these things? The question is, are they going to treat that as misrepresentation? Well, anytime you answer untruthfully to a question, then you're exposing yourself to misrep. And yes, an aunt and uncle are not going to give you points for the comprehensive ranking system. Only a sibling will. And if you don't have a sibling, if you do say, yes, I have a family member, an aunt or an uncle, well, ultimately, you're just going to go, it could ask you in your document checklist to provide proof of that family member in Canada, even if you put the aunt or uncle down, because they will use it for the purposes of assessing your Federal Skilled Worker Program eligibility, because you can get an extra 5 points for that. But when it comes to the situation, and for you, Himanshu, I would absolutely disclose your family members, as long as they fit within the list of family that's required by IRCC. And when it comes to submitting that, yes, you're going to include it, even if it's no siblings and you're not getting CRS points. And then if the question comes up and it provides you in your document checklist a request to provide proof of that family in Canada, then if you did not need those 5 points, you do have the ability to explain, I'm not providing any information for this because I'm not getting any points for it. And I do not need it to meet the eligibility requirements under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So that's typically how I address it. Or if that family member has it, I'll just include it. Yes, I know that's a lot of work. And if you just answer no, how are they going to know about it? Well, guys, I don't deal in probabilities. I don't want to advise a client based on whether or not there's a likelihood of them being found to have misrepresented themselves and getting a 5-year bar. I do not do that. I advise based on possibilities. And even if there's a slight chance that something could be seen to be misrepresentation, well, I deal with it. All right. We're going to look to the next question here. This is from Siri. Hello, Mark. I trust you're well and keeping safe. Indeed, we are, Siri. I trust in determining if I am eligible for express entry, I selected work experience of 4 to 5 years. However, in completing my profile using the reference number generated, I realized in counting the number of months I have worked in that particular NOC, I have 6 or more years of work experience. Do I have to withdraw my profile and get another reference number and re-enter the pool, or leave it as it is? Well, Siri, the eligibility is just to determine whether or not you meet the minimum entry criteria to submit your profile. So whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 years, if you've met the eligibility with the 4 years, then it's not a big deal at all, even if you've somehow missed including the 6. You're just going to choose, and if you look at my express entry do-it-yourself course, I repeatedly tell people that in the work history section, which is what you're talking about on the actual profile section, in that work history section, you do not need to list all of your work experience if you're not claiming points for them. And that work experience is both for the Federal Skilled Worker Program eligibility as well as the comprehensive ranking system under the assessment when you're in the express entry pool. So in your situation here, just if you need the 6 years for some reason, and some people do, if you need that 6 years to get your maximum points under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then just change it, update it. It's not a big deal. So go ahead and do that, and it does not affect anything. And no, you do not need to get a new reference number. All right. Okay, Ruth is up next. First of all, she says here, I'd like to thank you for all your efforts in helping and encouraging others to pursue immigration to Canada. You're very welcome, Ruth. I have a question regarding the work history employer letter. I have a letter of employment for my first company. One contains some job descriptions applicable for the NOC. I'm planning to nominate for the federal skilled worker, but it only addresses about 50% of the duties listed. I've reviewed the duties in the NOC for my occupation, and I've done at least 75% of them while I worked there. But the employer letter just didn't list them completely. Would it be necessary to get that letter redone so that the letter will contain at least 75% of the duties recommended? And yes, I do recommend about 75%, which in legal terms is considered, I guess, at least my definition is 75%, but the legal definition is a substantial number of those main duties. And understand, what is an immigration officer looking for? Well, they're not going to have an opportunity to talk to you and say, hey, how many of these duties did you do? All they rely on is your reference letter. So if your reference letter only lists 50%, like you've indicated here, then 100% I would go back and get your employer to correct it so that it includes all of the duties and does meet that rough 75% threshold. All right, great question. Okay, guys, you have been super awesome as always. We're going to stop there with the written ones. Now, for all of you amazing people that are watching live, I'm going to now start responding to the live questions. And so we're going to start after Muhammad Mubarak. So we're going to start right here with Muhammad. And if you want to post your comments after him, then these will be considered. So you can see Muhammad asked a couple, but let's see what he says here. One more question. I don't have any relatives in Canada. I have stated the same in my application. I've been asked to state if I have any relatives again. Is this normal? Well, yeah, they're obviously going to... not all information carries forward. So they may very well ask you twice to respond. Okay. Balaz says, Dear Mark, I've been trying to book a consult with you. Could you please help with it? I would appreciate it. Balaz, are you filling out my form? Are you actually paying the consult fee? Because those are two super important things to connect. And hopefully you've gone to where everybody goes. And if I open up my page again here, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to close this off. I'm going to pull up my screen. I'm going to hide Balaz's question here, which is not really a question. It's more a statement. I never, ever want people to feel like they can't reach out to me. So let me go here. So you're going to go to the page. All of you, if you want to book a consult with me, this is how you do it. You go to our firm website, And you can see we've got one thing that's kind of cool is at the very bottom, we've got this little message, spread the message, stop the virus. And then it's got a bunch of little tips and tricks there. It kind of has a number of confirmed cases, which is about 2.6 million, and then 709,000 people recovered. Now, this is just kind of a fun little tool. Whether that's actually the case, there's probably way more that have recovered, but it's kind of fun to put out there. So consult, start here. You click on the start here button, then you just fill this out. Okay, so immigration, let's say it's an express entry. I want to immigrate permanently. I want to, I live outside and I want to immigrate through express entry. And then here's the information. You fill in your name, you fill in your email address right here, your phone number. Where did you hear about us? Well, maybe it was the Facebook Canadian Immigration Institute. And then you provide some details, okay? And then you click send. And when you do this, if that was what you did, Balaz, then you would have received an email from us. Now remember, if you just sent it like 15 minutes ago, it takes us usually about half a day to respond. Sometimes it's next day. But trust me, we will respond absolutely. And if for whatever reason you didn't send it that way, then please just reach out through the method that I showed you and we'll get that consultation set up immediately. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Okay, this one I'll post it, even though it's big, from Holthe. And basically it's asking, it says they've got the nomination, I'm assuming, from the provincial nominee program, created the profile. Oh, I see. So they've got the notification of interest, and it doesn't say which PNP program. It says, I received the ITA from the provincial nominee program, which I'm assuming is the notification of interest. I've created my profile, sent my applications and documents. I've received the confirmation email with the reference number 1 week ago. What do you think? Usually, how long is it going to take to process? Any idea? My friend, Holthe, I have no clue which program you're talking about. I have no clue which province you're even speaking about. All of the processing times vary. And with the social distancing measures that are in place right now, you can guarantee that your application is going to take longer than even what they process and what they produce on their site and list as the processing times. But I can't answer that one, my friend. Okay, Diana says, is it okay for a lawyer to choose NOC 4112 to support the work experience back at home? Okay, so let's take a look. We are having lots of fun with this. Open it up, NOC 2016. All right, and just while we've got it here, 4112 is what Diana is looking for. So we'll just take this here and we'll drop that off. So let's take a look. 4112. I know what it is, but we're going to show everybody else. So 4112, which is lawyers. So the question that Diane asks is it okay for a lawyer to choose 4112 to support the work experience back at home? Yes, absolutely it is. This is the NOC code. And how do we know if you've performed the activities in the lead statement, okay? And if you performed a substantial number of these main duties. Now, one of the things you need to take into consideration is that anything that says may act as a mediator, may act as an executor, those are optional. They're not mandatory. So you're really working off of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe 4 out of the 6. Maybe right around there. Maybe 5. You know, it just depends. All right. So yes is the short answer to that question. Okay. Thank you. All right. Next one. This is from Vib. Hi, can my spouse apply for a tourist visa? I've applied for express entry under spouse non-accompanying category and received an acknowledgement of receipt. Please reply. Okay, there's so many factors when it comes to getting visitor visas to Canada. The country where you're coming from, your own circumstances. Obviously, what did you put in your reasons for listing your spouse as non-accompanying? I know for many of you, it's because you didn't get enough points, including your spouse, so you've listed them as non-accompanying so that you could actually get your invitation to apply, which has been successful for you, at least to this point, because you filed your APR and you've gotten that acknowledgement of receipt from immigration that they've got your application. Well, when it comes to visitor visas for spouses, when I talk to my clients, we make those applications well in advance for the visitor visas, the multiple entry visitor visas, long before we ever submit a profile. Because immigration officers can look at the fact that you even have a profile and say, well, does this person really have temporary intent? Will they go back to their home country if we let them come to Canada? And as absurd as it sounds, if you have a profile in the queue with Express Entry, they could use that as one factor to tip the scale a little bit in terms of denying that TRV or that visitor visa because you have permanent intent, because you wouldn't have submitted a profile if you didn't have intention to maybe one day in the future apply to immigrate permanently. Now, can they refuse a temporary resident visa for someone just because they have a profile in the pool? No, but they're going to use it as a factor to make a determination. When you already have an acknowledgement of receipt, you've already submitted your EAPR, you've listed your spouse as non-accompanying, it's going to be really difficult to get that TRV approved. Really difficult. You can always apply for it. There's no harm in doing it, but you have to really understand that it's going to have a very, very negative impact on the success of your TRV when you already have an acknowledgement of receipt and you've listed that spouse as non-accompanying. Because they're like, oh, come on, Vib. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get her there as a visitor and then sponsor her from within Canada as a spouse, which is a good strategy for sure, but convincing an officer to let her in, that's going to be tricky. Okay, let's see what we got next. Okay, let's pull this in here. This one's a little bit bigger. This is Tolu. My husband's the primary app. We submitted a 2-month-old fixed deposit in her name. So remember, I'm assuming Tolu's the accompanying spouse, with no objection letter. Yep, from you. We got the funds from the sale of land. We also attached a deed of assignment given to the buyer and land survey to prove the source of funds. Is this okay, or do we have to add more documents? No, this is awesome. This is great. Okay, if you're relying on the funds that came from a sale of your property, that's totally fine. When you can show that there was an actual contract for that sale, that's awesome. You guys are doing exactly what you need to do. The issue is when people are trying to provide an appraisal letter for a property that you own, saying this is what the property is worth, and use that for proof of funds. That don't work. It's got to be liquid funds in your hand. And so, good job, Tolu. That's exactly what I would recommend. All right. Anshu says, okay, I think I've already answered this one. Okay, no, maybe not. I've been nominated by Ontario, and I do plan to live in the province. On accepting their nomination, my CRS will increase by 600 points. However, my CRS is 471 right now, and I want to ask if I should wait for the Federal Skilled Worker Draw to get an ITA directly. Is the Federal Skilled Worker Draw going to take place anytime soon? Well, I can tell you that recently immigration has indicated to us that they have not outright closed the notion of a Federal Skilled Worker Draw, but right now the Canadian Experience folks, the ones that are in Canada, are getting priority. And so at this stage, while they're in a wait and see period, we don't know when the next Federal Skilled Worker Program draw is going to happen. What I will tell you is that if you have an opportunity with any program, I take it. Okay, if you need to then later make modifications or decline or do other things, that's fine. But I never ever, as we say here, at least in southern Alberta, a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush flying away, right? In other words, you give up 1 bird to go try to catch 2 in the bush, you could end up with no birds. So from my perspective, I always use and take advantage of everything that's available to me. There's nothing worse than choosing not to pursue the PNP and then trying to get through with 471. And then when the rules change and there's so many candidates that were not drawn because there was all these CECs, you guys know that it's going to make that federal skilled worker draw, the point totals are going to be high. They are, because more and more of you are pooling up there at that plus 470 range. So, Anshu, your case, I would not give up on the PNP. I would use it. And there's always the ability to change your mind after if something else happens. Okay, Rami says, hello, Mark. Do you have any updates on when regular FSW draws will resume? I just answered that one. Nope, I don't. Okay, Amit says, will out of country during COVID will be counted in total stay required to fulfill PR mandate to stay 735 days? That is a wonderful question, Amit. Do you know what? Wow. If you weren't already a PR, do you know what, Amit? Because that question is such a good question, I'm actually going to give you one of my free accesses to my Settle in Canada. When I launch that course on settling in Canada, I'm going to actually give you probably don't even need it, Amit, but if you do, I'm going to give you a free access to it. So make sure you send an email to info@holthelaw.com and tell Mauricia that Mark said you could have free access to the course when it's launched, because I'm going to give it to you, because that was a great question. So now here's the fun part about this question. So Amit knows that in order to maintain PR status, you need to actually be able to demonstrate that you've been in Canada for at least 2 years in every 5-year period, immediately preceding the date that you file your PR card extension application. And if you're outside of Canada and you're physically prevented from coming back in, I think personally you've got a pretty good case to be made if you are running into that time period where you've been outside of Canada too long. But every situation is going to be decided on its own merits. It's going to be decided on each person's individual circumstances. But if I was your lawyer, I would make a case for it. Make sure you document it. Make sure that you can show either that you had a flight booked and it got canceled. Make sure that you keep a copy of these orders in council that are prohibiting travel from certain countries. But remember, you, aside from the plane, as a permanent resident, you do have the ability to return back to Canada because you are within one of the exemptions. Now, coming back to Canada, when you have not had ties to Canada, that could be seen by the border officers as being something that's basically optional or discretionary. So they only will allow people to travel if it's non-optional or non-discretionary. So that's one of the challenges, but I would document your efforts to come back. You can't just say, oh, COVID, I'm not coming back, and so I couldn't come back. Please show me mercy. Document your efforts, okay? Especially if you're actually going to run out of days. Great question, Amit. Very well done. Okay, Archie, another YouTuber. Quick one. Want to send a spousal sponsorship inland application. The police clearance certificate has expired. The issuing embassy is closed to get a new one. Okay, Archie. You submit your application, and immigration has told us that they will allow you to file that application without the police certificate if you can't obtain it, and make sure that you identify in a cover letter that you will forward that police certificate as soon as you're able. So, yes, that is one thing that will allow you to file an imperfect application, but make sure you document it and explain it, the rationale why you couldn't obtain it. And if you have clear evidence that the embassy is closed, make sure you copy that and include that in your application. Great question. Okay, back to Facebook. Aitan says, I submitted a self-employed and included a medical. Could they ask for a new one? The medical expires October 2020, but estimated completion at November 21st. Please advise. The officers always have the ability to grant an extension on those medicals. If they need one, they're going to ask, right? And you're just going to go and you're going to get a new one. I wouldn't worry about it right now. We don't know what the world's going to look like by the time we reach October, November. I suspect that your application is probably going to go beyond November, just for the simple fact that it's taking a long time for every application because there are fewer officers and the reduced workforce that are allowed within the immigration offices because of social distancing requirements and all those kinds of things. So, Itan, that's something you're going to have to monitor in the future, but they will give you mercy. They will give you time to get a new medical before they finalize your application if they feel it's necessary. But they do have the ability to waive that too. Okay. Himanshu says, Monsieur, what's the update on the violin? Okay, guys. My awesome client gave me my violin. I have been dutifully practicing, even poorly, but just last night, okay, I have to show you guys this, all right? I have to show you this. I was heartbroken. Okay, here's what happened. So, even though my dear friend Eric told me to be careful when I was tightening the strings, guess what happened? See this one right here? Yep. There's nothing more shocking and frustrating than trying to tighten a string and tune your violin only to snap that string. So today I am hopeful, well, it's probably going to be tomorrow, If I can get over to the to the actual music store, I'm going to try to grab another violin string. Although I have to assess, because as you all know, is it really essential for me to go to the violin store and get a new string? Personally, it's breaking my heart, but I have to give that some serious thought. There might be some other things that I can do to try to work that around, get it ordered or something, but we'll sort that out. Anyway, so sadly, Himanshu, my violin playing has been suspended like everything else, like the Canadian immigration visas. Okay, this one from an unknown person. They say, hey, when will the OINP open? I'm assuming they're probably referring to the Human Capital Priority Stream. We just don't know. One thing we do know is that they're giving significant priority to people already inside Canada. And so if you're outside of Canada looking to immigrate right now, it's going to be a little bit more challenging and difficult for you because, they're just giving priority to local folks. Not permanently, but right now. Okay. Here's a good question. This one's from Diamond. Welcome back, Diamond. A friend just got her study permit approved in Canada to start study in September. Is there a possibility that classes will be taken online due to the pandemic? If yes, is there a possibility that this will reduce the tuition payment? Oh, that's something I can't answer. Every school is going to be different. So when it comes to tuition, I can't answer that question. Okay, next one is Jode, and it says, in this COVID situation, if Saskatchewan asks for additional fund information, how can I buy some more time to provide this information? Pretty simple. You just indicate, the bank is not able to provide me with the confirmation of my bank account or things like that. You provide your explanation. Most provinces will be kind. They're not going to crucify you. They're not going to be cruel, at least overly cruel, in light of everything that's happening with COVID-19. And if you did get a refusal in these circumstances through something that's completely outside of your control, then I would definitely challenge that refusal. Okay. Next one here, Shan says, can someone apply for express entry if they'll be turning 35 this year? Well, Shan, understand, the comprehensive ranking system looks at a number of different things. But if you're outside of Canada and you're applying without a connection, in other words, you don't have any previous Canadian work experience or any previous Canadian education, you're going to have a really, really hard time getting that invitation to apply. The scores for the Federal Skilled Worker Program are likely going to be above 470 points, probably, at least above 470 points. And so when you hit 35, well, how many points have you lost? Off of the maximum score, which is up to the age of 29, you've lost 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, which is 6 incremental drops of 5, 30 points lower. So where someone your age who has the same education, same language scores, is sitting at 470, well, you can do the math, right? You're sitting at 440. And that is the challenge with age under the current comprehensive ranking system. So for you, if you're outside of Canada, it's not going to be super easy. Okay. Next question. This is back to YouTube. Hello, Mark. I studied between 2010 and 16 at my main university, but I also was an exchange student in another country for one semester. How should I mention it in my personal history? Thank you. Okay, that's great. Well, usually what I do is if I have more than one education, I put the first segment of education as being and indicating the years completed, and then I put that the degree was not awarded. In good standing, but the degree was not awarded. And then in the personal history, if you're listing your personal history, then I'll put the time that was spent away in another country. I'm assuming it depends on if that program or that time away was a part of your actual curriculum. If it was, then a letter of explanation can explain it. But you have to indicate in your personal history the shift that you were at school, then you went away, then you came back. And in the second segment of school, that's where I put degree completed, ECA, if you have that, and then the remaining 2 years or however much time that you had actually spent 3 years to complete that degree. Then I'll put that in the second segment of education. And the 2 education pieces, I put those in the study history, and that's how I address it. All right, good question. Okay, no bad questions. Okay, Sunil, I'm going to bypass yours because it's a whole long question that'll take a long time to read. Keep your questions brief. Otherwise, if I'll show you, Sunil, if you can condense it, but that there, my friend, is just a little bit too big to answer. Okay, so we're going to move to Asiri here. Let's see. Oh, Asiri says, thanks, Mark, for answering my question. God bless. You're welcome. All right. Okay, Archie says here, can I send the application state in the letter of explanation that I will provide it when services resume at the embassy as per the current COVID-19 exemptions? Yes, that's exactly what you do, Archie. Okay, Musa here says, hi, Mark, any updates on extending the COPR validity due to COVID situation? We haven't heard anything yet, but remember, there's a pathway forward. If you are running out of time, your COPR is going to be expiring, then at that stage you do a web form and you indicate them that you need that you're not going to be able to travel because of the restrictions. Your COPR is expiring and you need them to extend it. That is what you do. Okay. All right. I love this. This is my favorite. Anchor, you make me laugh, my friend. We are not the United States of America. We're not. We're Canada, where we actually believe that immigrants create value and make the whole fabric of our country that much better. Well, will Canada stop immigration after 2022? No, they will not. I can say that unequivocally. We know in the future that we're going to rely heavily on foreign workers to maintain our economy. And we're not just going to stop processing. Okay. Okay, so here we go. This is great. Balaz says, yes, I filled it out twice. I haven't had the chance to pay the fee. I was told I will be sent a link to complete the form. Well, when you pay the fee, that's when we move forward. But when the email came back to you, Balaz, it included the intake form as well as the payment link. Until the payment is made, there's no further contact with our office. And you guys are probably wondering, oh, that's not very nice, Mark. Why do you do that? Because when I started my practice, I used to do consults and then send people invoices after. And I can tell you, whether you're in India, Nigeria, South America, Europe, the US, after the consult's done, there's not a lot of incentive to then pay the lawyer who just had the consult with you. So that's why I was forced to make sure that I took payment up front for the international consults. All right, there you go. Okay, so I know we're not bad. We're actually on top of things, Blas. You just need to follow through, my friend. Okay, okay, and this one is from an unknown. Will the skilled stream be open? We just don't know. I kind of answered that for the OINP already. Any ideas about knock code covered in PNP Alberta draws for 2020? No, we don't know. There are databases of shortages and labor force projections for Alberta that are available. And the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program looks at those and pays attention to those and uses those when they're determining which knock codes to extend those notifications of interest. But no, I don't have a list for that, and I can't tell you what's going to happen this year. Okay, let's see. We've got here another unknown. Thanks, Mark, for answering my questions. God bless. Thank you, unknown. I appreciate that. All right, let's see what we have next. Okay, we got another long one. So once again, this is an unknown person. These ones, guys, are just a little bit too long, okay? So you're going to need to shorten them and pick out just a little piece. Otherwise, it's too much for me to go through, and it's not fair to the other people who are tuning in. And we're just about at an hour here, which is kind of like the cutoff. So let's keep answering a few more questions. Okay, Anik says, I've completed my bachelor's degree from New York, majoring in comp science. I'm on the STEM OPT program now. I have 3 years of IT experience. How can I be eligible for Canadian PR? Anik, you need to book a consult, and we can go through all of that. But that type of a question definitely is reserved for a paid consult, and I can help you navigate everything. We can assess your eligibility. We can determine if there's certain programs that work better for others. It's interesting, Alberta right now is exploring with their immigrant nominee program some options for US STEM-based students, OPT, just like you, who may have some creative ideas and want to come to Alberta as entrepreneurs. So that is not yet released. It's in the works. I've been in a few consultative meetings with the provincial immigrant nominee program. And so, yeah, that is what I recommend for you, Anik. Okay. Okay. This is awesome. Okay, Mohammed. My previous question that I was trying for 5 times. It was too bloody long, my friend. Okay, my app is not at the local VO. On checking, I was told it's at the visa office for selection and decision. Embassy is closed due to COVID-19. Will they resume once they reopen? Yes, they will. every application that was submitted previously will continue forward with processing once they get everything sorted out. Okay, good question. Okay, all right. Musa says, would you please give us an idea about quarantine place dedicated by public health chief at the airport if you don't have an approved place to quarantine? Yeah, they're going to have a place to station you. And right now, I don't know. I don't have those details. I'm not sure what the health authority is doing. But if you have no place to go and you're symptomatic, they're going to definitely quarantine you in a location so that you're not spreading the COVID virus to other people. Where that location is, I don't know. It differs for every city. And so I can't answer that. But it will be relatively close. They're not going to fly you over to some other place in Canada where they quarantine everyone. It will be somewhere relatively close to the airport and a place where they don't have to travel very far. Okay? Okay. Let's see. We'll go to Eten here. And I think, yeah, we've already answered that one, Eten. Okay. Okay, Balaz is still sending in questions. Okay, Balaz, we'll get it sorted out, my friend. Just follow the instructions and we'll get it sorted out. Okay, let's see. We've got a bunch of people who are also posted a whole bunch of things here, but they're duplications. Okay, so this one is from Al Adventurer. Hello, Mark. I submitted my PR app without medical exam and uploaded my LOE. That it's impossible to pass it due to the quarantine. Is it okay? Will I receive a request or I need to pass the IME when I can? Thanks. The Immigration Medical Exam, IME, that process is one of the areas where immigration will allow you to wait. Now, some panel physicians are starting to open it up and they are starting to do immigration medical exams. But if you've submitted your application and you didn't have your medical ready at that time, what I do is I don't wait for the instructions. If it's an express entry, I just go and get another upfront medical. And then through the web form, I upload it to my file as soon as I can. That's what I do. Okay, we'll answer a couple more. Okay, Sahil is asking for how to apply to PEI or Nova Scotia PNP. You have to go to the website and take a look, or you can book a consult and we can walk through the process. But you need to just go to the website and read the instructions, my friend. Okay, Vishal says, I've received an ITA with 3 years of work experience. Okay, 3 years work experience score prior to my 3 years due to rounding off, which takes place on April the 26th. Should I submit documents with my current ITA or decline it and wait for a new one ITA? Vishal, there is no guarantee that an officer will show mercy or kindness, even though it's not your fault that the system rounds up. So as many of you know, when you're submitting your profile, it only asks the month that you've worked, not the day. Personally, I think they should have just used the day, but I think for the way that the system, the algorithm calculates, it's easier for them to calculate month by month than it is day by day. So because they structured it that way, you are at times going to get a benefit, an ITA, before you're really entitled to it, because you haven't actually worked all the way through to, in this case, April the 26th. In these circumstances, this is how I address it. In the past, officers have said they will be kind and they will show discretion, but there's no guarantee. So if I know that the ITA, my score is high enough that I would get it again, then I, in those cases, will actually decline the invitation and wait till I have the full 3 years and then take the next invitation to apply and submit it. If, however, I feel I was super fortunate and lucky to even get it in the first place, then in those circumstances, and if I think if I cancel this, I'm not going to get another one, then in those circumstances, I will, well, as a lawyer, I'll put on my lawyer hat and I will work really hard to justify and show why the application should continue forward. And so you're just going to have to make your pitch and cross your fingers, knowing that it's possible it could get refused because you didn't have that actual 3 years at the time in which your ITA was issued. And they do have the ability to do that. It would be cruel for them to do it, but hey, we've seen more cruel things by officers than that. Okay, guys, we're going to end there. We're into overtime here a little bit, an hour and 4 minutes of live Q&A with Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer. I want to also advise everyone that to go to the Canadian Immigration Institute page, our website. Let's see if we can find it here. I've got so many things going on. Not that one, not that one. Right here, but then that's not even it. Go to the Canadian Immigration Institute page right here And you'll see there's two places. You can click at the top on our on the Canadian settlement course right there. It's got its own button right there, and it will take you to the registration place where you can register for my upcoming live webinar on Canadian settlement. And so this is an option for you right here. If you're on the main site, you can also just scroll down a little bit, and then you can see right here below our countdown, 14 days, 17 hours, 52 minutes, and about 40 seconds. You can register for the webinar now by just clicking on the link in the same way, and it takes you to the same place. I am excited for you guys to join. When you're completing this webinar and filling it in, it will ask you a question. It'll say, what do you want to learn most in this webinar? And guess where I'm creating the content for the webinar? From the exact things that you guys are curious about. So this is all about the settlement process, getting settled in Canada, successfully integrating, everything from finding jobs to getting yourself a place to live, to understanding how the world of Canadian business works, or what it's like just dealing with the climate and the cold and everything else, or the heat or the wet, or whatever it is that your challenges that you face and that you're uncertain about. So I'd love for you to take the time, connect in. The goal here is for those who are Canadian Immigration Institute alumni or graduates of the Canadian Immigration Institute, but it's for anyone who's a part of any of these processes, who's joined me on YouTube, watched the videos, but that are at the stage where they have a confirmation of permanent residence, or they've received their passport request, or they've actually landed or in Canada recently and are just looking for a little bit of help. Let's face it, it's not easy trying to integrate into a whole new culture, a whole new country. Now, I think Canada's pretty awesome, but there are some issues. You know, at times there are glass ceilings with employment where you just can't progress because you're not Canadian and you don't have Canadian work experience. Sometimes you're struggling with figuring out what bank to set up with. You're trying to figure out, where to live, what is reasonable. What really are your rights when it comes to renting a place, or all of these things? How do I register for my social insurance number? All these kinds of things we're going to try to cover those. But when you register here in the actual, when you fill out the registration process, it will ask you questions. So if I register for the webinar, you can see here, it says, what would you like to learn most about successfully settling in Canada? So that is the question. So make sure you type it in. So whatever it is, I want to know how to find a job. Maybe that's one of the top questions that are asked. I don't know. But when it comes to settling in Canada, that's what this is all about. So please join me on the webinar. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. As you can see here, as I share my screen again, it is going to be on Friday, May the 8th. Bright and early in the morning for those who live here. For those who are overseas, this is going to be pretty awesome because it's going to be around, in some cases for India, for instance, it's going to be around 8:30 your local time or 8 o'clock. I don't know how it works. But anyways, register. We'd love to hear from you and post your questions because those are the ones that are going to really help me to make sure that the webinar is of the most value to you. That's why I'm doing it. All right, guys. Once again, I want to express appreciation for everybody who's contributed, everybody who's asked questions. My apologies if I wasn't able to get to your question, but I do have to cut this off at some time. I have other clients that I have to shift to, my paying clients now. And I want to express appreciation to Igor for helping me out with a lot of the setup, especially of the webinar itself. He's just been phenomenal to work with. And as many of you know, you can just go look up Igor in the past YouTube channels and you can learn all about his amazing story, how he ended up going from being out of status in the US through no fault of his own to getting his express entry application approved, coming to Canada, and landing a job right here with Holthe Immigration Law. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I will see you next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and then again on the Thursday. Same time, 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, right here on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. Some of you are watching on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. Those of you in YouTube, thanks for joining me there on the Canadian Immigration Institute and on the Holthe Immigration Law Periscope site. We are grateful for those, although I didn't have any comments from Periscope today. I don't see any here. No, it's all Facebook and YouTube. It's awesome to have all of you join. So thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and well in this world that we're trying to navigate full of COVID-19. Take care.